Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, also known as Lady Jane Dudley after her marriage, ruled England and Ireland from 10 July to July 19, 1553. She was an English noblewoman who was born on October 1537 in Bradgate, Leicestershire, England. She was the eldest daughter of Henry Grey, the first Duke of Suffolk, and his wife, Frances. She was well educated in humanities and was regarded as one of the most intelligent young ladies of her day. Henry V's great-granddaughter was Lady Jane through her mother, Lady Frances Brandon, who was descended through Mary, the younger of King Henry V's two sisters. She married Lord Guildford Dudley on May 25, 1553, the younger son of John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, and King Edward's chief minister. King Edward VI decided to give the throne to 16-year-old Lady Jane Grey, his first cousin once removed. His half-sisters Mary and Elizabeth, and their rights under the Third Succession Act, were disregarded by the will due to their illegitimacy. After Henry V's marriages to Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn were ruled void, the law considered both Mary and Elizabeth to be illegitimate. The English Reformation would be compromised by the king's passing and the inheritance of his Catholic half-sister Mary, which Edward's council and commanders had many reasons to fear. Jane was a devoted Protestant who supported the Reformed Church of England, making her the ideal candidate for the throne of those who supported the Reformation. King Edward's health was rapidly deteriorating, and on June 21, 1553, Arundel signed the letters of patent transferring the succession to Lady Jane Grey as the king's successor. On July 6, 1553, around 8 o'clock in the evening, Edward passed away at the age of 15. Mary was invited to travel to London just before Edward passed away to see her ailing brother, but she was given advance notice that the invitation was merely a scheme to imprison her and make Jane the new monarch. Rather than leaving her home in Hunsdon to travel to London, she stayed there. When Mary was certain that King Edward had died, she left her home and traveled to East Anglia to start organizing her followers. On July 9, she petitioned in a letter to the Privy Council that they proclaim her as Edward's heir. On July 19, 1553, the Privy Council of England abruptly changed sides, ousting Jane and proclaiming Mary as Queen. Henry Fitzalan, the 19th Earl of Arundel, fooled Northumberland into attacking Mary, and after that, Arundel called a council meeting, denounced Northumberland, and had Mary proclaimed queen. The Northumberland supporters withdrew, and the majority sided with Mary Tudor. The Duke of Suffolk had no trouble convincing his daughter to give up her throne. On July 19, Jane was removed from her position of authority and imprisoned with Northumberland in the Tower of London. Jane was first spared by Mary, but as soon as her father, Henry Grey, 1st Duke of Suffolk, joined the Wyatt Rebellion of 1554 against Queen Mary's intentions to marry Philip of Spain, Jane started to be seen as a threat to the crown. Mary made the decision to punish Jane and Guildford because of the fact that her father and his 2 brothers were involved in the rebellion. Burning was the customary English punishment for treason committed by women. Her sentence was to be burnt alive or beheaded as the Queen pleases on Tower Hill. Jane was found guilty of high treason in November 1553. Her husband, 2 of his brothers, and Thomas Cranmer, the previous Archbishop of Canterbury, were all accused of high treason. Her father-in-law, the Duke of Northumberland, who was her main ally, was charged with treason and put to death less than a month later. Initially scheduled on February 9, 1554, their execution was later delayed by 3 days to allow Jane time to renounce her Protestant beliefs. Jane got upset when Mary sent her chaplain John Feckenham to see her. However, she warmed up to him and let him accompany her to the scaffold after refusing to give in to his attempts to rescue her soul. On February 12, 1554, Jane and her husband were put to death. The authorities transported Guildford from his Tower of London quarters to the public execution ground at Tower Hill, where he was beheaded. His remains were returned to the Tower by horse and cart, passing Jane's quarters. Jane reportedly said, "Oh, Guildford, Guildford," upon seeing her husband's body return. She was then taken inside Tower Green, where she would be executed by beheading. Jane handed her maid her gloves and handkerchief after reciting Psalm 51, "Have mercy upon me, O God." The executioner begged her pardon. Jane requested the executioner, "I pray you to dispatch me immediately. Will you take that off before I lay me down?" indicating to her head, to which the axeman answered, "No, madam." Jane then covered her eyes, but when she suddenly couldn't find the block, she panicked. "What do I do? Where is it?" She received assistance from Sir Thomas Bridges, the deputy lieutenant of the Tower. Jane said the last words of Jesus as recorded by Luke while her head was on the block. "Lord, into thy hands I surrender my spirit." The axe then landed at a precise speed.